Hi, I'm Scott Davis, and welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very helpful time. And this is the care and feeding of a New World Age report for the Gregorian date of June 5th, 2013, and One Cimi, or Transformation, in the Mayan Tzolkin calendar. We're also going to talk about Neptune turning retrograde and the Gemini new moon. So June 5th is One Cimi, which carries the themes of death and rebirth, forgiveness, surrender, guidance of women through pregnancy, new beginnings through the release of what no longer serves us, psychic abilities, and self-actualization. The transformation day sign speaks of a choice to follow our heart's intuition and the wisdom of our ancestors, nature, and Mother Earth, or the path of ego and the dialogue of the chattering mind. I believe that we all have chosen to incarnate during this time of intense transformations, so it's important that we flow with the cosmic changes. That's the reason that I've been sharing these reports, so that you'll have the information to prepare for any time we have difficulties, but also to savor the times when the energy is allowing and ease in opening and expansion of consciousness. A reading would sort of dial that in for you on a much deeper level, but these reports have a good overall information for navigating these uncertain times, and there may be growing pains associated with transformation, but I really believe that it's a resistance to these evolutionary shifts that really create suffering. And I've included the human design transits for this Trecena along with the astrology and Tzolkin day signs. I'm going to quickly review some of the information before discussing the neutrino forecast for one transformation's 13-day period. We start by looking at the position of the sun, the moon, and the planets around here on the outside of the wheel of what we call the rave mandala. And in the center we have the body graph. And so we look at those positions much as we would in astrology, except instead of relating them to the astrological or zodiological constellations and to each other, what angles they're making, we look at them in relationship to the hexagrams of the I Ching, and that's these stacks of lines on the outside of the circle. And then they get mapped to specific positions in the body graph. And the body graph is this shape here, which we also see as the chart over there. For instance, at the beginning of One Cimi, at the beginning of this Trecena, we have the sun, which is represented by this black circle with a dot in it. And it's in Gemini, but we can also see that it's in the 35th hexagram of the I Ching, which has a specific location here in the chart of being right here. So the shapes inside the body graph here are called centers, and they represent the next stage in evolution as humans moving from having 7 chakras to now having 9 centers. And that transition happened back in 1781, but so now we're all 9-centered beings. And when we have the sun in the 35th hexagram, it's mapped to an opening in an energy channel. And this position here in this energy channel, where the 35th hexagram maps, is called the 35th gate. The 35th gate, again, it's over here. It's on the right side of the throat center in what we call the collective channel. That is a collective channel, which means that it's there to have influence over humanity, or the collective, not just the people in our families or tribe or over individuals, but to affect everyone. And this one is called the jack of all trades, and it's abstract. The jack of all trades is somebody who's not necessarily a master of anything, but has certain skills that make them very proficient in many different types of trades. The pathways between centers in here are are from the Kabbalah, and these pathways between the centers are called channels. And I found that this system, the human design system, has been amazingly accurate, and it's really the primary tool I use when I provide readings. And then these black strips of paper on the chart here, these represent gates being activated by the sun, the planets, the nodes, and some of them form a channel, which a channel is any time it goes all the way across, and you can tell because you have a colored-in center on either side. Some of them don't form a channel, and they're just potentials or hanging gates. For instance, for that, we have the sun up here in the 35. We have the north node in the first. We have the south node down here in the second. We have Mercury in the 52 down here. This is a potential. We also have Mars over here in the 20, another potential. Jupiter in the 12, and Neptune over here in the 55. And then we have two defined channels that I'm going to talk about in this report. I'm not going to be following the moon with this demonstration because it moves really fast and it just flies to 3 or 4 gates in a day. So this will be more detail than we need with just the planets, nodes, and the sun. On One Cimi or transformation, we have the 2 channels defined that I was talking about. Venus is down here, is up here in the 15th gate, and then the Earth, which is something that's different from human design. From astrology, we look at the Earth as the opposite point from where the sun is at any given point. So the sun being in the 35th, the Earth, the polarity of that is the 5th. So we have the Earth down here, and the 5:15 is called the channel of rhythm, and we're going to have that until June 6th. This brings a period of being in the flow so that we can experience a harmony with the life force, creation, and the deeper patterns that are affecting us all. It's collective, so it's really here to be shared, and shared not just with your family, but shared, or your friends, but shared with humanity. Expect people to be flowing in their own rhythm in life, which might not match our expectations or agreed upon time frames. So that's something to be thinking about. And the other channel that's affecting everybody until the beginning of August, we have Pluto over here in the 38, and we have Saturn up here in the 28. This is called the channel of struggle, and this brings experiences where people struggle against overwhelming odds. It's through this archetypal hero's journey of fighting for our purpose that empowers others to stubbornly fight for what holds meaning for them. This is about empowerment that comes from being who you are meant to be, instead of following the conditioning that we've had from our families and schools, religions, and governments. And it's said to be deaf, so during this time, people don't really hear the other, and the importance of that is it's there to keep us from becoming distracted from our authentic path. And then on the 6th, Mercury moves from the 52 here over to the next side, the next hexagram in the circle, which is the 39. So that movement then presents this channel. But we'll keep the 52 up there because on that day Venus moves out of the 15 and moves into the 52. So we've got Venus moving out of the 15 into the 52. We have and we have Mercury moving out of the 52 to the 39, which gives us this definition here of the because this channel rhythm is no longer there. We no longer have those centers defined. So what we got now is we got Mercury on the 39 connecting with Neptune in the 55. This is the channel of emoting, and it's also the mirror image of the channel of struggle on the other side. These are both individual channels. They're both about empowerment. They're both very acoustic. So with the channel of emoting, which we're going to have until the 15th, which will be a time period when people feel the pressure to form from the emotional wave. The best way to deal with this level of sensitivity is to appreciate the lows as well as the highs and recognize that it's part of our human experience and it's temporary for those of us who don't have this channel in our birth charts. This can bring lessons that yield wisdom as long as we can stay in the present. And even though we're going to be moving in a cycle, going from like hope to despair and back to hope, and it's a wave; it just moves along. But we can really tap into some real great creativity by fueling any melancholy or like feelings of being blue into some kind of artistic expression. This brings deeply romantic and acoustic sensitivity. So listening to music or talking with a loved one is going to be particularly favored while we're having this channel of emoting. And then on the 7th, the sun moves out of the 35 and moves into the 45. So that's down here. That gives us this channel, which then will give us this definition up to the throat. So this is in this one we've got Uranus is in the 21. The sun now has moved to the 45, and the Earth now moves from the 5 to the 26. Okay, so this is going to be moving over here, which let's just put it there. Yeah, we'll try to make it look cool. So just imagine it moves all the way behind these and out the other side, pointing towards the 44. That's the 26. Anyway, the 2145 that we now have definition is called the money line, which is about it's tribal. It's about resources and the support of the family and those people that even if they're not our blood, they're part of our tribe or our extended family. During this Trisena, this is going to condition folks to gain resources through using their willpower. This is the will. It's manifesting channels. It connects up to the throat. And so what we see here is that often others, this is often without people to collaborate with. This always brings like kind of this focus on the haves and the have-nots on the material plane. So you'll probably hear more in that type of rhetoric through the media. This time period is when people will believe that they can manifest what they want through their will, which completes on June 13th, when the sun then moves into the 12th gate. So these people who have not completed their will to materialism by that date are going to find that their efforts fall flat. Now, obviously, every gate does not form a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because you can look at some of these transits and you'll realize that they're forming channels with the potential from your own personal body graph, the one that from your birth date. So I'm going to just kind of show what all the shifting is here. On the 8th, Mars moves out of the 20 and into the 16. Although it's here, we'll get a bigger, stickier one here, into the 16. And then on the 10th, Venus leaves the 52 to move into the 39 to join Mercury there. So and then on the 11th, Mercury leaves the 39 and comes over and moves into the 53. So we have that potential set up from there. And then on the 13th, we have the sun moving out of the 45, which means we no longer have this definition. All right. And it moves into the 12, which is already defined here. And we have that the Earth then leaves the 26. And it moves up to the 11. So it's now up here. So this is kind of helpful if you've already got these if you already have a human design chart to know what's hooking up for you. Okay, and then on the 15th, Venus leaves the 39. All right, so this comes back off and joins Mercury in the 53. So we no longer have the channel of emoting, and Mars is now going to move from the 16 to the 35. So Mars is now forming that potential. Okay, and that's really it for the human design portion of this program. So what we're going to do now is we need to talk about June, and we're going to talk about June as it relates to everything, you know, the astrology, also the numerology. So we're just covering everything here. So anyway, June is the 6th month of the year. And when we take the 6 and add it with the digits of 2013, when we add it together, we get 12. When we add the 1 and 2, they tell us that this has the quality of being a 12/3 month, because the 1 and 2 gives us 3 in numerology, which brings creativity, a chance to let go of some of the intensity that we've all been experiencing the past 2 months. And when we think about the 12/3 combination, it's represented by the Hangman or the Emperor and the Empress in the Tarot cards, which is about our willingness to turn ourselves upside down to see from a new perspective through nurturing others and ourselves. And this theme of nurturing is also being felt as the inner planets are moving into Cancer. We've got, you know, Mercury moving into Cancer. It moved into Cancer on May 31st. It was followed by Venus on June 2nd. Those were in the last report. And then on the 21st, the Sun moves into Cancer for the solstice. That'll be summer in the north and winter in the south. And then Jupiter moves into Cancer on June 25th. And Cancer is the nurturer of the zodiac, with its focus on home and family. It's also about using our feelings to determine if our outer world is in alignment with our inner world. We'll strive to regain balance after all these changes that came through on the coattails of the April and May eclipses. This also brings an emphasis on the element of water, as the stellium of planets is moving in Cancer, along with Neptune's in Pisces and Saturn's in Scorpio, the other 2 water signs. So during June, as these planets move through Cancer, what they do is they form a grand trine, which is a very favorable angle. First with Mercury, and then with Venus, and then the Sun, and eventually with Jupiter, and then in July Mars moves into Cancer. So they're all going to move through and form this grand trine with Scorpio, with Saturn in Scorpio, Neptune in Pisces. And it will be interesting to see how Neptune and Saturn play together. But I think if you really use that energy to work on creativity, work being Saturn, creativity being Neptune, this would be an excellent way to merge these 2 energies. And this is very positive, and this is going to happen when those planets in Cancer are between 4 and 5 degrees of Cancer. But then later on, the same planets approach 10 degrees of Cancer, where they oppose Pluto and are challenged by Uranus. So they're 180 degrees to Pluto and a 90 degree to Uranus, which continues that wave of transformation as we receive another series of pulses due to these planetary alignments. And I think this is Cimi, so we should be talking about transformation. Before I get into the daily energy of the Cimi transcena, I'd like to look at some of the major astrological influences. All the planets are appearing to move forward from our vantage point on Earth, except for Saturn and Pluto. which are moving retrograde or appearing to be moving in reverse. Saturn appearing in reverse motion can be compared as a time period for recuperation and maybe backtracking due to some obstacle in our path. And then with Neptune, the planet of transformation through death and rebirth, when it's moving in reverse, where it's really about reviewing the past, and will require that we're releasing, things from the past, hurts from the past, anything that is a detriment to the path that we're being empowered to pursue. Pluto represents death, completion in Capricorn. This is a breakdown of structures that brings about this transformation. So, very appropriate energy for this One Cimi Trecena. And then Neptune at the beginning of this. So we have Neptune down here in Pisces. Neptune is slowing to a stop as it prepares to turn retrograde on June 7th. And when a planet is stopped, it's said to be at the peak of its power. So Neptune's at the peak of its power in its own side of Pisces during this Trecena and for the beginning of June. And it's seeking transcendence through spiritual experiences. And this will be a time to use spiritual practices to keep us grounded as we expand our intuition and consciousness. This will be important energy to nurture as we are in the middle of 4 years of these challenging Uranus-Pluto squares, which have been affecting us as a collective, but also as individuals. The squares between Uranus and Pluto will continue to shake the very foundation through unexpected rebellion of the individual, that would be Uranus and Aries, and challenging the decay of power structures, Pluto in Capricorn. Obviously, this is going to be a difficult time of upheaval, destruction, death, unexpected change, natural disasters, violence, and war. So finding our own peace in our connection to spirit will be a very important quality to cultivate now for this tumultuous road that we're on right now, and it's going to continue till 2015. And Neptune pushes us to transcend the physical world through our contact with our higher purpose and having spiritual transformation. But the other edge of Neptune is it also encourages escapism. And so some of us might be seeking to be unconscious, while others of us might be seeking to awaken. And Neptune really can take us either way. So let's look at the daily energy of this Trecena, June 5th, 2013. One Cimi, or transformation, unity experience through releasing what no longer serves us, with the Taurus moon in harmony with Mercury and supported by Pluto. The early part of the day will have increased communications, and then followed by Pluto is going to start to bring out some intense emotions and stimulate sensitivity, which also can favor sexual relationships. The 6th is too manique or dear duality experience through being a service to others. The moon in Taurus makes no aspects and it's void of course all day, which is good for kind of integrating all the new energies and taking some needed downtime. June 7th is 3 Lamont or star, taking action through being grateful for abundant relationships, and this is a long one, okay? Neptune turns retrograde, so we have Neptune down here. Finally, from the perspective of where we are on Earth, it's starting to look like it not only has it stopped, but it's starting to look like it's moving in reverse, which brings spirituality and creativity, but also the delusion, because the Lord of the Seas is at the peak of its power in its own sign of Pisces, which it rules. And I think about Ulysses in the Odyssey, and he was supposed to just take his boat from the Trojan War home, and it was going to be a short trip. But Poseidon, Neptune, created all these different events. He went into these different islands and met the sirens and the cyclops and all these different things that took a short journey and made it, take many, many years. And this is kind of what Neptune does, is it brings spiritual transformation, but it also encourages us to be unconscious and not be able to see things, creates a fog. And then on the 7th, we also have Venus. It forms a trine, a 120-degree angle. So from our perspective here on Earth, we have Venus from the Earth making a 120-degree angle to Neptune, which is, like I said, at the peak of its power. This activates the grand trine because it's also making a 120-degree angle to Saturn. So from our perspective here, this forms a perfect equilateral triangle around the Earth, which is a very powerful thing in all water signs. Venus finds support from its higher octave planet Neptune. This is pleasant, romantic, creative, not necessarily great for getting things done. And then we have Saturn, which is interesting because this brings reliability and stability and kind of a clearer perspective on our relationships because this angle is with Venus. So it's interesting that these grand trines will all have a favorable angle between Neptune and Saturn, which incorporates kind of serious, sober views with universal love. And I think this is really excellent for energy for practices or studies that raise consciousness, like yoga or mysticism or spirituality or occult metaphysics, as a way of kind of grounding otherworldly energy in the here and now. And then we also have Mercury here opposing Pluto. So from our perspective here on Earth, this is a 180-degree angle, which again, this is going to activate the Uranus-Pluto square over the next few days. With Pluto, Mercury wants to get to the bottom of any problems in relationships or with people we encounter. Expect intellectual conflicts where folks try to convince others of their personal truth. And then we have Mars. Okay, this is just a crazy one. We've got Mars forming a square to Neptune, again at its peak of its power. But this is a 90-degree angle from our perspective here on Earth. And this can be difficult because it brings up a sense of doubt and discouragement. This also brings energy for confrontations where people feel inadequate and try to avoid challenges they hoped would just go away. And people also question what they're doing in their lives. Recognize that this is going to last a few days, so it's best not to get lost in any kind of hopeless feelings. And I think that given all the positive influences of the new moon and the grand trine, the new moon coming up the next day, overall, I think that this is going to be, bring some balance to the challenging energy. Overall, I think that this is going to lead into a really very interesting weekend because on the 7th, we got the Gemini new moon. On the 7th, the new moon is Gemini new moon is on the 8th, but on the 7th we have the Gemini moon is merging with Mars, challenged by Neptune and stimulated by Uranus. Emotionally, the day moves from sort of irritable feelings and critical communications to daydreams and fantasies being more important than reality, and then later pleasant yet restless feelings and a desire for some excitement. And then we get to the 8th for Maluk, offering stability through appreciating all of creation. As Mercury, again, now Mercury is squaring Uranus. Again, this is a 90-degree angle from our perspective here on Earth, which brings tension between our lower and higher minds, Mercury being the lower mind, Uranus the higher mind. But if we can remain flexible, this can bring a fascination with new information and experiences. But without flexibility, this can really be kind of nerve-wracking as we have surprises and upsets that become bothersome as the day does not go as we had planned. And we also have that Gemini new moon that I was just talking about. The new moons are times of new beginnings. And in Gemini, it's about shifting and changing our thinking and communication. New moons bring an opportunity to set an intention for manifestation on the following new moon. So what you want to do is you want to look at the house of your astrology chart that contains 18 degrees Gemini to consider what area in your life is being activated by this new moon. For me, this is my 12th house. It's about secrets and sorrows and self-undoing, but it's also the most mystical of all the houses, and it's linked to psychic powers. So I'd set an intention related to using this energy for more of the spiritual, psychic, mystical, as opposed to just digging myself a hole in sorrows and self-undoing. The moon makes no other angles to planets during this new moon, so it's really focused on birthing new information and communications. And then June 9th, we've got 5 Auk or dog. This is about empowerment through enjoying family and friends. And the moon merges with Jupiter and gains support from Neptune and Saturn, which brings good feelings and generosity towards others. And then later it shifts into bringing out our innermost subconscious fantasies and daydreams. But it may not, so it's not really great energy for accomplishing work while we may have to settle. We're kind of caught up in those fantasies, and then later it settles into with this angle with Saturn. It gets a little more sober and has more of a realistic view of life. And then the 10th is 6 Shuin or monkey, being in the flow through creating something new as the Cancer moon merges with Venus and Mercury and opposes Pluto and is challenged by Uranus. The day's emotional energy moves through from cheerful, warm, generous, and then wants to go out and socialize to then having deep emotions rising to the surface with Pluto's influence. And then later, people are likely to act hasty and jump to conclusions that finally lead to our rational minds being strongly influenced by our emotions. June 11th is 7 Ebb or road reflection through serving our community. And on that day, we have this angle of Venus in Cancer, being 180 degrees from Pluto in Capricorn. So Venus opposes Pluto, which intensifies our relationships. And when Venus dances with Pluto, it's not uncommon to hear from past lovers or pine for somebody from your past. Usually it's just best to leave the old partners where the relationship where they are, and resist trying to, dig up the dead to be sure of what caused the relationship's demise. We also have Saturn trine Neptune. So this is the exact angle of Saturn making a 120 degree angle to Neptune from our perspective here on Earth on the 11th, which can bring an understanding of how we can connect heaven, Neptune, and Earth, Saturn, through these diverse energetics. Saturn grounds Neptune's spiritual flow. Neptune lifts Saturn up out of the trenches. Together, I think, we'll feel supported in having our feet on the ground as our heads are up in the stars. With the moon in Cancer, this makes no angles, and it's void of course all day, which is great for rest and reflection, but it's challenging if you're trying to make major purchases and decisions. I would just kind of enjoy the flow of the day rather than trying to make something happen that day. The 12th is 8 Ben or reed or corn. This is about balance through maintaining the home, with Venus now is forming a 90 degree angle, a square to Uranus, which seeks excitement in love relationships and social interactions. And this can really go either way. If the relationship has become routine and boring, this could provoke a fight. as folks may be impatient with loved ones. But on the flip side, this would be great energy for doing something new if we can let go of our expectations and can be open to experiences that may take us out of our comfort zone in doing so and provide greater understanding. This transit also favors art that is edgy and or provocative. It can also brings an impulse to spend money. So you might want to exercise caution around major purchases as the moon is challenged by Saturn and in harmony with Mars. The day moves from feeling lonely and out of touch with others to later people wanting to work independently and express themselves with courage. And then the 13th, this is 9 Ish or Jaguar in the Tzolkin calendar, which is about patience experienced through enjoying nature. As the moon in Leo finds support from Uranus and is in harmony with the sun early in the day, we crave emotional excitement and doing something outside of our daily routine. And then later it shifts to feelings, our inner and feeling inner and outer equanimity. And then the 14th is 10 Men or Eagle, which is about manifestation through seeing from a higher perspective, with the moon in harmony with Jupiter and Saturn and opposed by Neptune early in the day. We want to be with old friends and having congenial interactions, but later has us wanting to be alone in our thoughts and feelings while feeling sensitive emotionally but confused regarding the accuracy of what we're feeling. June 15th, 11 Keeb or wisdom, resolution through introspection, meditation, and forgiveness. The Virgo moon is challenged by Mars, supported by Pluto, and in harmony with Venus. The day moves from people feeling irritable to having needless disputes. While feeling on a deeper and more intense level. But then later it shifts to wanting to be with friends and the people we love. And then the 16th, this is 12 Kaban or Earth in the Tzolkin, understanding through gratitude for Mother Earth, with the first quarter moon in Virgo in harmony with Mercury and challenged by the Sun and Jupiter. The day begins with communications and social exchanges picking up, especially related to where we have common interests. And then later we have challenges to following our daily routine. And then finally, this shifts to feeling benevolent and generous to those in our immediate environments. And then June 17th is 13 Etsnob or Flint. It's movement to the next stage through being introspective. And on this day, we have Mars forming a 60-degree sextile to Uranus. So this is very stimulating. It's rather impatient and can be restless. It's not great for the daily routine because it desires new experiences and activities. Expect people to be kind of unpredictable for a day or so. This doesn't have to be disruptive if we can view this as a time to get out of a rut rather than feeling as though our expectations are not being met. This can bring new insights and stimulating experiences and new levels of appreciation for people with different perspectives. With the Libra moon, it's challenged by Pluto and opposed by Uranus and supported by Mars. The day moves through having the compulsion to act in ways that may not be good for us in the long run. And then later, folks are being emotionally excitable and impulsive. And then the feeling, with a feeling of a little more, being a little more confident than usual, and the ability to assert ourselves in a positive manner. So that's the energy of the 13th day of the Trecena. So no matter what the energies are affecting you during the one transformation Trecena, take some time out to be in the flow of the planet by being in nature or watching a sunrise or sunset or communing with the stars. being conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, or, really being present with somebody you love. Every single day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that are here to distract us. We're all here giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage, but just take some time out to observe the play as well as act your part. Remember, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. Anyway, thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment, A Care and Feeding of a New World Age, will be on June 18th for One Kawak or Storm. And also, we're going to have the solstice, summer in the north, winter in the south, the Capricorn full moon, Jupiter moving into Cancer, Mercury turns retrograde, and Venus moves into Leo. So this is going to be a really busy one storm report on the 18th. You can check us out on Facebook or YouTube or the Mayan Magics website. There's also, I have a blog now up on Blogspot. And this also gets posted on Before It's News. So I'd encourage you to share this information as videos or text as widely as you choose. I'm also going to be discussing, if you see this before the 5th, on the 3rd, I will be discussing the astrology of June and the Earth Needs Rebels show on Orion Talk Radio. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com. If you got any questions about what I've been talking about, or you wish to schedule a reading, and I am providing readings and wish to make this service available to the greatest amount of folks, so I created 3 options with 3 different levels of compensation. These readings are designed to provide you the information that will help you navigate these difficult times. At the basic level, we look at your human design chart, which will help you make sense of all those the potentials that I was discussing earlier. And then and we look at that chart to help you use your individual strategy and authority in making decisions based on your unique design. I include 3 months of astrological transits as they relate to your natal and progressed astrology chart, along with the human design reading at the middle level. At the top level, the human design and astrology reading is recorded and sent to you as an MP3 file that you can download to your computer. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You either have to be able to call me here in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. Sometimes people ask me just to record the reading and send them the recording, which then we can have a conversation or ask questions back and forth through email. So if that works for you, that's also an option at that highest level. I'm also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Basically, how New World Birth keeps going, and all the time it takes for me to research all this information and create these videos is really based on providing readings and from donations. And I've had to take a part-time job just to try to keep this alive. So I'm hoping the quality continues to stay where I expect it, as well as hopefully what you've come to know. But it really happens if you can can support us here, either with a reading or a donation. I mean, as always, I'm blessed that you've taken this time out to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. En Lakesh. And hopefully we'll connect on the 18th for One Kawak or Storm. And thank you, as always. I am glad for each and every one of you. And just having an audience is something I truly value. Peace.